The narcissist games in 2021. The narcissist is playing the same games now, currently, that he did in 2012. The difference is, between 2012 and now, is that God is literally my sponsor, my counselor, my attorney. So, he's playing the games very similar than he did in 2012, which is the adultery and fornication. And so the narcissist is discarding me. And the reason that the narcissist is doing this is because it has to unplug from my kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, to be able to plug into the kingdom of darkness. So the narcissist gives you the death stare. It's because spiritually they have to untie that cord from the kingdom of heaven in order to do the works of the flesh, which in this case is adultery and fornication. So what I've come to understand is when the narcissist gets into a fight with me and causes discord or dissension, which is the work of the flesh, by the way, it usually means that he's going to meet his new girlfriend, the new victim. So he must disengage with me in my allegiance to the kingdom of God, and he must unplug from my kingdom. And so that then he can attach to his allegiance to the other Satanist or the other replacement victims that are in his sphere of influence. So similar from a monkey going from vine to vine, the vines represent either the kingdom of heaven and they alternate with the kingdom of darkness. This is why a narcissist goes hot and cold when dealing with you. In order for a narcissist Satanist to justify their allegiance to the kingdom of darkness, they have to justify and rationalize and be in agreement. The narcissist has to justify and rationalize, and they must be in agreement with their demonic house. And they're in agreement with their demonic house through all the works of the flesh, so that the house will not be divided. And we live in such a fallen world that sometimes I think it's confusing to realize what the work of the flesh is and what a work of the flesh is not. But what will happen is my narcissist Satanist will paint me black. And he does this so he can go see his new girlfriend, my replacement, and feel completely justified in doing so and be able to validate his works of the flesh and his lawlessness against me and the kingdom of God. The narcissist is punishing me by having an adulterous affair against me, because this is how a house is divided. The works of the flesh are the wicked heart condition of the narcissist Satanists in our lives. Now, this can be for your spouse, your children, your boss, your parents, anyone in your life that is a worshiping Satanist that's also a narcissist. So I realized in 2005, when I first met my narcissist, and I didn't know what this was at the time, there were 3 things that happened. So he introduced me to the demonic spirit of rejection, the demonic spirit of murder, and the demonic spirit of abortion, because of his suggestions that he made to me. You can fill in the blanks there. And these were all major red flags. And these are all works of the flesh. Basically, murder and a rejection can be rivalries or dissension. Now, 2012 comes along, and I realized what is happening, because God told me this, was that the spirit of Judas was upon me. Okay, so 7 years later, in 2012, the narcissist started to cheat on me that I was aware of for the first time. And basically the first time God said something to me was that, or I got an inclination of, a word in my mind, was the spirit of Judas, which is basically betrayal. So the spirit of betrayal, I was introduced to the spirit of adultery, the spirit of fornication, the spirit of heresy, the spirit of dissension, the spirit of murder, the spirit of suicide, the spirit of rejection, the spirit of abuse, the spirit of contempt, the spirit of hate, the spirit of retaliation for his adultery against me. That's the narcissist for you. The spirit of witchcraft, the spirit of selfish ambitions, the spirit of rivalries, competition with the new adulterous mistress, the spirit of uncleanness, the spirit of lewdness, the spirit of idolatry, and the spirit of jealousies, envy. Basically, in 2012, all the spirits of the flesh were introduced into my reality. But at the time, me and the narcissist were both unevenly yoked as unbelievers. So we were evenly yoked because we did not have a relationship with God. We were both in the kingdom of darkness. But when these were introduced to me in 2012, the spell of the narcissist Jezebel spirit broke. And so I was no longer in allegiance to Jezebel. And I didn't believe her lies anymore. So then from 2012 to 2020, God isolated me and trained me. Okay, so from 2012 to currently, God started to train me for battling demonic principalities, powers of witchcraft, the rulers of the darkness of this age, the hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places, and the unclean spirits. From 2012 to 2017, I was in a period of research and development of narcissism. And I knew there was a spiritual component, but I didn't know what it was at the time. But that ended up being Jezebel, the Jezebel spirit, which is a demonic spirit that's running the narcissist. But also the Jezebel spirit represents the counterfeit of Christ. She represents the bride of Satan. So the good news, if you're attacked by this spirit, is that you are the bride of Christ. The bad news is that a very smart demonic principality that's the bride of Satan is coming after you. Basically, her agenda is to get you off allegiance to God. Okay, from 2012 to 2017. So I sought off secular domestic violence therapist, AA support group, Al-Anon support group, codependent support group, and adult children of alcoholics support group. And I knew a lot of people in all of these groups. And I sought help from all of these places. And then I went church hopping. I went to the denominational churches. There was a Friday night gospel church, and that guy was just kind of scary. Turning Point was Apostle Church, and they understood that there was Satan and demons and deliverance. And although I really liked them, unfortunately, they allowed quite a few women that were Jezebels, and the Jezebel women just didn't like me. At the time, I had no idea. I just knew that I didn't fit in. It just didn't feel comfortable. And then there was another retreat that I went to for Women of Christ, then I went to the Women of Christ retreat, where I saw for the first hand, people in the Kundalini spirit, were people falling down drunk, laughing as if drunk, and people that were being slayed in the spirit. And for some reason, I could just never lose control. I've never been slayed in the spirit. I've never fallen drunk from the Kundalini spirit. I've always seemed to be able to maintain control. And I realize now that that wasn't the Spirit of God, but a different kind of a spirit. Then as I started searching on YouTube in 2016, I started to think that I was dealing with a person that was demonically possessed. Because nothing else was making any sense to me and nobody else had the answers. So I did a search of narcissist or demon possessed. And I was introduced to a ministry, which was in 2016. And that person referred me to the Pigs in the Parlor. The Pigs in a Parlor is a book by Frank Hammond about deliverance. And it made so much sense to me. I've read the book like twice. I've gotten the workbook on it, and it completely changed the way that I looked at things. I've always had a mind for trying to figure things out and make sense of things. And what the secular world does not focus on is that there's things happening to us in the spirit that are real. I know I sound like a broken record, but sin, transgression, and inequity, all the bad things have been introduced into our human reality, is actually a demonic being. And its assignment is what it is. For example, the spirit of suicide is a demonic being. Its job is to get you to commit suicide. That's what it does. So that's a demon that can be cast out of you, the demon of suicide. And yet it is absolutely that simple. So you can cast out a demon of alcoholism. You can cast out a demon of murder. You can cast out a demon of depression. And believe it or not, they're actual entities that are not supposed to be in this isn't the kingdom of heaven. These things don't exist in the kingdom of heaven. So when it says Jesus had not known sin, Jesus didn't know any of those things when he got here. He got introduced to them when he was in our reality. They don't exist in the kingdom of heaven. So when we're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, that means that we are going to live in a reality where all those bad things, like murder and hate and war and betrayal, all those things are not going to be in the kingdom of heaven. What we will have are the fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, mildness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control, patience. Okay, so the other thing that started happening from 2017 till now is basically God removed every single human that I could ask for help from. Like everyone that I asked for help from wouldn't help me. Like I got rejected. I counted like after 15 rejections, I quit counting, and I realized that what was happening was that really no human being could help me with my situation. So God did that so that I would lean and trust on God. And so what God has given me and he has imparted to me are all the 7 spirits of God, which are the Spirit of God. And so I do feel like the flesh is separating from my spirit. I know that sounds strange, but I feel like it's starting to happen at a quantum level. I don't know. I know I'm crazy, right? Okay, he gives me the spirit of counsel. Okay, so what is the spirit of counsel? Here's a good example. So my narcissist Satanist is with his new girlfriend right now. So I have privacy to do this video. And the counsel of God goes like this. My narcissist Satanist, he will not let me leave this relationship alive if he doesn't have another new victim to secure. So the only way I'm going to get out of this relationship safely and not dead, he has to have a new victim, because he will not let go of me unless he has a new victim. And although the sting of betrayal, I fight with my anger over it, and with my retaliation and resentment that I want to go after him with. But the counsel of God says, hey, look, in order to let go of you, he has to have a new one. So that's the way to look at it. Now, the spirit of might. Now, I'm starting to understand what this is. I don't have a Kundalini spirit, but I do have. Okay, the spirit of might. So I realized that the spirit of might, it feels to me, it's like a pulse. And what the pulse says, I realize it's my heartbeat. As my heart beats, I feel a pulse. And it's actually the spirit of might. It's actually the power of God. Now, I don't know how to use it, and I'm afraid to play with it because it's a big toy. But I do know, and I am aware of, it is the spirit of God's power. So as I align more with God, I wear the spirit of might like it's a coat. Okay, the next one, the spirit of wisdom. Well, as you guys know, just with this channel, if I'm at work and I'm a cashier and I get information in my brain, I just start to write on a register receipt, which actually cracks me up because it's like this, the scrolls of old. No, I'm not a prophet. No, I'm not a prophet, but I would like to ask God, where are my profit sharing checks? So if I was a prophet, I think that I would be getting some profit sharing checks. I can give God my routing number or my bank account number if he would like to deposit those. So anyway, the next one is the spirit of knowledge. And knowledge and wisdom is different. I mean, knowledge is the information about what I'm learning, but the wisdom is the application of it. It's different. Because I learned when I was in research development stage, I was like 4 or 5 years on narcissism. Having all this information on narcissism, it's like having a bunch of information on alcoholism and how it affects the human brain, but it doesn't fix the alcoholic. It doesn't fix the narcissist to have this information. And what's really frustrating is I'm getting all this information and I'm still in captivity from by my narcissist. Okay, the last one, the spirit of the fear of the Lord. And this is one of the 7 spirits of God. And this is just about respect, that he is the Most High God. He's the one you need to be afraid of. So he's the one you need to take direction from. There are a lot of other gods out there, but you have to fear the Most High God, and you have to be able to hear the Most High God. And I have discovered that God's not wordy. God lives in the present. He's not judgmental. He gets right to the point when he needs to say something. And really, he can say something in 3 words. And there's not a lot of adjectives. There's not a lot of emotion. And he's just direct. I mean, he gets right to the point. He's a man truly of few words. If Satan is talking to you, I think Satan's really wordy. He's really emotional. He brings up your past, your present, and your future. And he gets you emotional. Okay, here I go. I'm talking about the kingdom of heaven, and this is what it is. Not only is this the kingdom of heaven, but this is the spirit and the personality of God himself. So and we don't have to wait to die to get here. We have the spirit of perfect love, which think of it as a blanket. The spirit of perfect joy, the spirit of perfect peace, the spirit of patience, long suffering, the spirit of goodness, the spirit of mildness, the spirit of gentleness, the spirit of faithfulness, and the spirit of self-control. And so, 2 Corinthians 10:4, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments and of every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. And Ephesians 1:19-22. And what is the exceedingly greatness of his power towards us who believe, that's us, according to the working of his mighty power, and what I just gave you 7 of them. And he worked in Christ. The power of might is what, think about this, is what raised Jesus from the dead. Okay, and what else did it do? It raised Jesus far above all the demonic principalities, all the powers of witchcraft, all the rulers of the darkness of this age, the might and dominion, all the hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places, and all the unclean spirits. And not only this, but every name, and that's everything that's bad that you can think of to name, that is named, not only in this age, but also that which is to come. So I realized that the narcissist Satanists are unleashing the beast of the system. The beast of the system are the thoughts of the enemy beast system. And the thoughts of the enemy beast system are all the works of the flesh. And all of these works of the flesh will be held captive to obey Christ. So again, the beast personality, spirit, inclination, and environments, and the methods of operations and the way they are in our world today. Pretty much everybody's a narcissist lately. I mean, just if you look at politics. So again, bring every thought into captivity to what? To the obedience of Christ, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your disobedience is fulfilled.